Thank you everyone for joining. Welcome to my live show, Death by Domestic Abuse. The big question is why? Lately, it's been on the increase. Like I said in my advert, when I posted, I promoted, this session. I did talk about how death by domestic abuse has been on the increase worldwide generally, but particularly in Nigeria. The question is why? Well, to answer that question, I would like to, today being Easter Monday, I'd like to start by uh, going to the beginning, to the real beginning. For those of you who are Christians, happy Easter. Um, let's go to the beginning where Proverbs 18:22 said, "He who finds a wife findeth a good thing and obtain favor from the Lord." So I'll say that again. He who finds a wife findeth a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord. The question is, why would God term finding a wife a good thing? Welcome to me, Adebayo. Thank you for joining. Why would the Bible say, "He who finds a wife findeth a good thing"? Why is finding a wife a good thing? That it's a good thing. It also says that you obtain favor from the Lord. So let's explore those two things. First of all, so you find a wife. It says you find a good thing. Why is it a good thing? Please, you feel free to give me some insights. I'm not a pastor. I'm just trying to work with the words as established. And then when it comes to obtaining favor from the Lord, you begin to wonder why that is. And I think a lot of that has been also prescribed. Ephesians 5, I think if you take it from 25 to 33, it does says quite a lot of different things about prescriptions. And I'm sure you guys that are Christians will know some other parts of the Bible that might be pertinent to what we're talking about. So, now, talking about that, can you please talking about this, you'll find that well, in exploring this, can you bear with me a moment? I'm trying to clear something here. Hang on 1 minute. About that. I'm getting some calls that are kind of affecting what we're doing. Hello, I am Enigma. Thanks for joining. So we're exploring what the Bible said about he who finds a wife findeth a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord. Because what we're trying to do to deal with this topic properly is to start from the background, from the beginning. What did God prescribe when it comes to marriage, a union between husband and wife? The prescriptions are there in Proverbs 18:22 and some part also in Ephesians 5:25 to I think 33. I mean, you Christians will know more about all that. I'm not a pastor, I'm not Christian, by the way. So, but essentially, what we're talking about is to look at it from the point of finding a wife and finding a good thing because you found a wife and obtaining favor from the Lord. So here's my question, the question I ask my clients when I speak to them. Here's the question I ask them all of the time. For the women, I ask, do you consider this man worthy enough to obtain the Lord's favor through you? Do you consider yourself the vehicle through which this man should obtain the Lord's favor? That's the question I ask. Because it gets them to think deeper than you ordinarily think. It helps to think deeper than I love you. You know? Yeah, you love the person, that's fine, but have you really looked at this person? If you look at my previous videos, there was one I did where I asked the question, have you considered the mental and emotional well-being of the person you are entering a relationship with, or the person you are in a relationship with? Have you looked at how what you do or not do might impact their mental and emotional well-being? Well, this is part of what I was talking about. So have you really thought about that person, looked at that person deeply to decide that this person, because I'm a vehicle through which God would grant would grant someone favor, and not just anybody's, we're talking about your husband. Is this person worthy of me delivering them, of obtaining that through me? So when you think about that, hello Sandu, welcome. Thanks for joining. Is this person worth obtaining this favor through me? That's the first question. If you feel that person is worth it, then first hurdle crossed. That is fine. You're good to go. The second question I asked, which is for the men, is when you look at this woman you want to marry, you look at her, what do you really see her as? Do you see her, consider her as a vehicle from God through which you will get favors from God? If you view her through that lens, beyond that you love her, you want to marry her, then again, for the man, you have crossed the hurdle. And then we can begin to look at other things surrounding that. Because if you think that way, it affects how you behave towards the person. That's whether it's the woman thinking so or the man thinking that way. Now, again, I'll say hello again to my Muslim brothers and sisters who might be here watching also. It's Ramadan, but also the Quran says something similar to what I had highlighted that the Bible said about a union. In Quran chapter 4, verse 19 specifically, it did say there are 4 points that were raised in that verse. The first one regarding man and woman. The first one is you cannot marry women against their will. Although they use inherit women against their will, but essentially what it means, that's old language in terms of before it used to be that you take women from their fathers. That's why the inherit bit is there. But essentially it says you can't marry women against their will. So the woman must be willing to marry you, and you must be willing to marry her. That's the first thing to cross. Now, the other prescription in that same verse says that you have to treat women with kindness, and you can't be harsh with them. Contrast that with Ephesians 5:25 to 33, where it again prescribes that you shouldn't be harsh with your wife or your other half. Now, the third point is you must treat them. There are so many different things that you can't do with it. You just got to be fair with them. But most importantly, the fourth point, which relates to what Proverbs 18:22 said, is that it then came down to say, and if you dislike them, it may be that you dislike something through which Allah would give you a great deal of good. Again, if you contrast that with what 18:22 says, Proverbs, he who finds a wife findeth a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord. And here in the Quran, it says that if you dislike your wife or your partner, it may be that you dislike something through which God will give you immense favors. Do you see the point? So now, when we look at that, again, the question as I asked earlier, for the woman, my Muslim sisters, the man you are looking to get married to, first of all, you have to love him. You have to consent to marrying him. That's very important. It's an important ingredient of marriage, even in Islam, and I'm betting in Christianity also. The second point is: do you look at this man and consider him worthy of you, being the vehicle through which God will grant him favor, if you like. So if the answer to that is yes, then that's some starter. So first you love him, and then as a vehicle, do you consider yourself a vehicle of God to deliver good things sent through you by God? That's the first thing for the woman. You need to consider that first. Do you consider yourself? Are you looking at yourself as a vehicle from God through which you will be dishing out favors and great deal of good to someone, a special person in your life? If you consider yourself as a vehicle of God, then you need to think about whether this person you are dealing with is worth receiving those good from you, the vehicle of God. And that you can tell from their behavior, from their utterances, from their mentality, and all of that when you interact with them. Now, if your answer to these questions are yes, plus you love the person and you intend to marry the person, that's one way. For the woman, everything is all set to get married. Now, coming to the man, you as a man need to look at yourself and determine whether you deserve from your own deeds, from your own being, from your own efforts, whether you deserve to receive favors from God. If you feel you deserve to receive favors from God, then you need to then look at, okay, so this woman you want to marry, do you love her? Okay, yes, you do love her. Now, if you do love her, the other question is, do you look at her as that vehicle? Because it's God that used that said this. It's not me. I didn't say it. We're just trying to, understand the words of God on both sides, right? You need to look at her and decide for yourself, honestly, whether this woman that you want to join with, you want to marry, is a vehicle through which you want to receive, you will receive, you hope to receive a great deal of good from God or God's favors. And if by her character, by her attitude, her mentality and everything, it sits well with you and you view her as God sent, God's vehicle through which you will, be seeing the good side of God, then for you as a man, I think that is when you will be complete to take that step forward to get married to this woman. Now, those who are on, thank you for joining. Can you please share this live? You never know who's going to benefit from what we're talking about. It's very important. I'm setting the background before we get into why death by domestic abuse is on the rise. So we're going to the beginning, and we've discussed about that. Now, we know that there are billions of Christians, there are billions of Muslims in the world. This is why I started with those. But we know that there are other very major religions like the Buddhists or the Hindus. So I'm going to look at what their own sayings, or should I say their own subscriptions, say about taking care of a woman, or about a union, what they consider fair about a union. If we look at what Venerable Dhammananda Mahanayakathaka, or is it Thera said, I think he or she is a Buddhist. They said if a man can find a suitable an understanding wife, and a woman can find a suitable and understanding husband, both are fortunate indeed. This is what Venerable said. Now, if you take that again and look at what the Quran said, and then what the Bible also kind of said, it's kind of similar. And these are the Buddhists. They are not Christians, they are not Muslims. Their prescription is about the same thing. If you go further to look at one of their books, which is the Sigalovada Sutta, you'll find there the prescriptions, what a husband is expected to do, for a wife or to a wife. It has to be attentive and courteous. Sandu, thank you for staying put. All of you that are here and staying put, thank you. So first of all, he's got to be attentive and courteous to his wife. He cannot look down on her. He has to be faithful to her. Prescription, mind what I said, prescription. Those are the prescriptions, okay? And he has to share authority with her. That's important. Has to, because like we say generally, we say she's your better half. So how is you cannot treat your wife with harshness. You've got to be kind towards her, and that you have to treat her with fairness and equity. Stress on fairness and equity. Or is it where the Bible in Ephesians 5:25 also says, emphasizes on being kind and not being harsh to your wife? Is about the same thing. Now, if we flip that around and look the other side and go to the Hindus, if in their own book, which is called the Veda, if you look at particularly at Atharva Veda, I think 1736:1, it says, "Let us husband and wife look at each other with gaze of love, always speak sweet words, reside in each other's heart. Let us be two bodies, but with one mind only." That's the Atharvaveda, which is one of the books of the Hindus, right? Atharvaveda 14:2-17 says, "A bride, by your pleasant nature, do good of family members with a pure heart. That will increase happiness and wealth in the home." See, we've talked about what the Buddhists, prescribe for their followers, and then what the Hindus prescribe for their followers in terms of treatment of the wife, and the husband's role when it comes to marriage or a union, however you want to look at it, whatever your subscription is. Not to be too heavy on all of those, you'll see essentially what all of these religions are saying is essentially, it boils down to 4 points, in my opinion. I mean, feel free to add yours if you know more than I've already listed. The first thing is you've got to be kind. You've got to be kind towards her, and you can't be harsh with her. That is very important. Perhaps that should be the second thing. The first thing should be that you need her consent anyway to get married to her or to be unified with her. You always need her consent. And then you have to treat her kindly and not with harshness. And then 3, you've got to be fair with her. Think about sharing authority with her. That will be why she's your better half. And then number 4 is that you need to keep reminding yourself and let yourself know that she's God's vehicle through which, if you already are blessed, through which you will get even more blessings and favor from God. And if you are still looking for God to bless you, she is the one, the vehicle through which those blessings will come to you. That is very important. as a Yoruba man, I always put in my Yoruba people stuff. Yoruba people will say there's one prayer that they pray for those who are getting married, and they always say that it translates literally to, may God let you be best friends forever. That's a very, very key prayer that he said in Yoruba. He said, may the good Lord let you be best friends forever. That is really important. Now, having set this background, the question why now becomes even more pertinent. So, if we are Christians, we are Muslims, we are Buddhists, we are Hindus, and all the other relevant religions, if we're all that, we subscribe to all of this, for God's sake, why then would there even be domestic abuse in the first place? Because if we go by all these prescriptions, there shouldn't even be domestic abuse at all. At all. But there is domestic abuse. It's killed many people. And in recent times, it's been on the increase. So the question now is why? Well, the answer to that, my people, because as a professional relationship coach, and a mental health practitioner, even also as a lawyer and a dispute resolution practitioner, I can tell you that the first thing is to look at the mental and emotional well-being of the person involved. The reason is because if you are sick, whether you have malaria, you have typhoid, or whatever else you have, you cannot function properly. If you are not well, you can't function properly. But you see, malaria, typhoid, all those things, headaches, those are physical illnesses. What if the problem is the mental illness of the person involved? Then you begin to wonder what really is going on. But because mental illness or mental and emotional well-being is not something that you can physically see, many people tend to overlook it and just term it as silliness, bad behavior, snap out of it, it will get better, or all those kind of things, rather than arresting the problem in good time and trying to do something about it. There are many different types of mental and emotional well-being issues. Some people have even called it neurodiversity, being something to do with the neurological, existence. Now, depending on what it is, there are many triggers that could trigger a person to do certain things that manifests as something else. If you remember, I talked about my previous videos. Please do like, share, and comment. Go to my profile or my social media handles. TikTok at ASB_mentor and coach. Instagram at ASB_mentor and coach, and Facebook at Aphrodisian. You will see from my previous videos where I said, and I did mention earlier, said, have you considered the mental and emotional well-being of the person you are looking to enter into a relationship with, or the person you are in a relationship with? I'll tell you why. There are a combination of everyday factors that can come together to strike a person and affect their mental and emotional well-being. So the person you started with, who was all good, nice, and everything, some things could have combined together to happen to that person that would have changed the dynamics of how that person is functioning or how that person functions. Now, if you have not been paying attention to your partner, you probably will miss out on this and you won't even know when the problem began or there is a problem. And you see, like they say, the first step to solving a problem is to acknowledge that there is one. You have to first understand and accept that there is a problem for you to even be able to begin to look for solution to solve it. And this is the same thing with relationships. So this nice, loving man or woman and everything suddenly becomes this horrible, whatever, and all of this. Something happened. And it's been happening consistently, but you have been overlooking it. The man has been overlooking it. Maybe he doesn't even know what's going on. The woman must have been overlooking it, again, because she doesn't know what's going on, or she might not have identified that there's a problem. But with all problems, there are solutions. And having said all of this, we will come to the solution in a bit. So bear with me in a moment. Go take a refresher, maybe a drink or something, and I'll be right back in, say, 5 minutes to continue with the solution. But when we come back, ruminate on what we've said so far. If you have any comments or any suggestions or anything, questions, please send your questions in, and I'll deal with that when we return, when we come back. So please stay tuned, and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Thank you for staying put. I hope you're enjoying the subtle music in the background. So, Sandu 266. So far, do you have any questions? Any comment before I continue? All right. I'll see as we go. So, like I was saying earlier, the first thing you want to ask yourself in answering the question, so if based on all what the prescriptions of religion, and we are all subscribed to one religion or the other, why then is there domestic abuse? It starts from the mental and emotional well-being of the persons involved. Now, when I say the persons involved, it may be one person is one person's mental and emotional well-being is not as it should be. It may be that it's both of them. It may be both of them have mental and emotional well-being issues. I'll give you examples of some of the possible mental and emotional well-being issues, and you can begin to see what I'm talking about. So think about somebody who's got anxiety disorders, for example. And there are many different types of anxiety disorders. You've got general anxiety disorders where somebody's just generally, well, that's why it's called general anxiety disorder, not to beg the question, but the person just has anxiety about almost everything. Do you see the point? There is social anxiety disorder, otherwise known as SAD, where the person, when it comes to going into social settings or interacting with people, they get very agitated. They can't cope, and they can suffer things like panic attacks and all the rest of the symptoms of anxiety, sweaty palms, maybe even sweaty head, and palpitations and all of those kind of things. So imagine someone who's got social anxiety disorders, for example, and you are married to that person. And we know in Nigeria, we like Owambe a lot in terms of whether it is marriage. You've seen the big weddings and all of those kind of things. Someone with social anxiety disorder may not want their wedding, for example, to be really big. They may just want maybe like 4 to 5 people to attend, and wedding done, everybody go home, and they don't want no party, no nothing. They just want it so small, right? Now, if the other person is not kind enough, or the other person has maybe another type of mental and emotional well-being issue, for example, depression, right? You can imagine the mix. Or no, let's leave depression. Let's even talk about bipolar affective disorder, where they can get to the level of mania. And at the level of mania, everything is hyper for them. Everything is hyper for them. So imagine these two coming together, wanting to get married. One wants a huge party because they want to make a statement, and the other one, because of the anxiety disorder, is avoiding anything social. This is where the clash begins to come. Unless, of course, there is an understanding of how these things work, or an understanding beyond just loving the person, because that is how you will not feel offended by what the other person is doing, let alone the whole thing getting to a point where there will be domestic abuse. Now, when you don't get offended, there's one thing about people who might be experiencing some mental and emotional well-being issues. When they're in that zone, they can't help themselves. They cannot. And it's not their fault that they cannot. It's just the same way you can't help yourself when you have malaria or typhoid. You have to be supported and treated. You have to be supported and treated. You can't do it yourself. It's the same thing with these people. It's an impulse that they can't control, that they have little or no say to. So if you're expecting that they should know, no, they don't know. They might feel awkward about it, but there's nothing they really can do about it. And this is why, if you understand how these things work, or you understand your partner and all of that, that's first step to stepping down the risk of anything degenerating into domestic abuse of any sort. That's number one. Number two, essentially, really, to be honest, this is what I tell my mentees and people I coach, and even my clients, particularly when I'm dealing with divorce cases as a lawyer and all of that. The problem is when you are involved in this kind of things, you've got to look at your partner in the way you looked at, for those of you that went to university, and no disrespect to those who didn't go to university, I'm sure they picked some other apprenticeship or something else to do. You can consider it in the same way. What essentially I'm trying to say is that when you chose to take a career walk, whether it's to go to university to study law or medicine or anything like that, or whether you chose to do apprentice in tailoring or mechanical engineering, whatever it is you chose to do for a career, the point is you chose that career for a reason. Usually because you love it, you're passionate about it, and I'll come to that in a bit. So you chose that career. Now, when you chose it, if you succeeded in becoming a tailor, a mechanic, a mechanical engineer, electronics engineer, doctor, lawyer, you subjected yourself willingly to all the stress, the trauma, the ups and downs of going through the institution to learn this thing so that you now graduated to become an expert. You were tested, sometimes impromptu tests, but you passed those tests because you prepared for them, right? You passed them because you prepared for them. The same thing with exams. You did exams. Think about WAEC and GCSE and A-levels and all the rest of them. And think about all your courseworks. And then your graduating project also. Think about the research, the effort, the sacrifices you made just because you want to become a lawyer, a doctor, and whatever else expert you choose to study in. It's the same concept. When you decide you want to be with someone, a woman or a man, it's your job to study your partner. It's not a choice. It's your duty to study your partner so you can understand your partner. Let me quickly take you to something. In one of my videos, I did break it down, but I'll do it here again, just for those who have not seen the video. But please, I enjoin you to go watch those videos on my profile. Please do like, share them, follow me, because I'll be dropping hints, regularly that could help you with some of the things you do. In that video, I sought to split three things, of opposing, state. It was perception against knowledge. It was understand against tolerate, or tolerate against understand, and then fear against love. Please go to my profile, TikTok and Instagram at ASB_mentor and coach, and Facebook on Aphrodisian. At Aphrodisian, and you'll see all those videos there. It's just one video actually that I did that talked about all of that, and go and see what I said about perception versus knowledge, tolerate versus understand, and then a fear versus love. The point is, knowledge of yesterday will become a perception. Anthony Chibuike, welcome. Knowledge of yesterday will become a perception if you don't update it. And then, if you don't understand something, the only thing you are going to be able to do is to tolerate it. That's it. However, tolerance is a short-term measure. Tolerance is a short-term measure, is a short-term tool, is a tool to deal with a short-term issue. It's not designed for long-term. There has to be an end to it. And this is why people, you hear people say things like, you know what, I can't take it anymore. Because when you tolerate for a long time rather than a short-term measure that is supposed to be, you make yourself a ticking time bomb. And trust me, not you, not the person would know what your explosion is going to look like. However, when you do explode, you're going to take out yourself and everything surrounding you, which means whatever you do will then affect everybody around you. And it doesn't matter who it is, it will affect everybody around you. So, and then when that is the case, like I said, if you don't understand something, you will only be able to tolerate it. Now, if you are too much into tolerating stuff, that explosion, before you explode, you'll find that you are characterized more by fear. You are always afraid of this and that, or this may happen, and they may you all of the time. However, if you understand what you're doing, you find out that you love it. It's easier for you to show compassion, to show love, to operate with love rather than fear. But you see, when you operate with fear, you are most likely going to be manifesting hate behavior. And when that happens, this is how things like terrorism come to be, extremism. This is how it comes to be. And this is how people tend to begin to hurt one another. Because I don't know you much, I'm afraid you will do this. Now, think about a normal human being who is afraid of something. Guess what's going to happen? They will be preparing a defense against that thing. So, what you then find, because you are afraid of this person, you are working on a defense against that person. Now, to you, it's a defense, but to that person, it's an attack against them. Are you seeing how domestic abuse begins to build? First, it starts with the mental and emotional well-being of the person. Then it goes down to, of course, their mental and emotional well-being. Part of it is their understanding, their mentality, and how they think about stuff. Because let's be honest, what you think affects how you feel. You can't hide that. You may think you are smart, you can hide it, or, and all of that. No, you cannot hide it. Whatever it is you are thinking is going to affect how you feel about that subject matter. And how you feel about a subject matter is what's going to dictate what you will do to that subject matter, with that subject matter, or around that subject matter. So if you don't trust someone, it will show in your behavior you don't trust them. Trust me, you can't hide it. It will show in your behavior you don't trust them. And then guess what? If somebody who expects or who believes that you trust them is now seeing that you don't trust them, how do you think it will make them feel? And then what do you think they will start doing? Again, these are some of how domestic abuse begins to build up. Now, again, in one of my videos, if you go back and watch them, please do like, share, and comment. It would be very nice to make this interactive rather than me just talking. I would like to know what you guys think also as to why domestic death by domestic abuse is on the rise. And I'm already giving you the whys now. I would like to hear yours too, so please do comment. It will be helpful. Now, if you go to my profile again, at IG and TikTok at ASB_mentor and coach, and then Facebook at Aphrodisian, you would see where I talked about the 4 horsemen of divorce, which was brought together by John Gottman. Hello, Jeff Kelchin, welcome and thank you for joining. By what's his name again? John Gottman. He was a renowned psychologist. Now, what are the 4 horsemen? I've said it in that video. I'll just kind of highlight them again. The first thing is criticism. I mean, whilst it's okay to criticize, or I wouldn't say to criticize, I'd rather use the word critique, because there is constructive criticism and there is a destructive one. And there's usually a thin line between both. This is the issue. This is why I think people, don't know when they are making a destructive criticism of their partner, somebody they claim to love, somebody they claim is their all in all. Now, when criticism is always about, there is a way you criticize someone that chips away at their dignity. You've got to be mindful of that. You can't be chipping away at the dignity of somebody and claim you love the person. How do you love someone and then do things or speak to them in such a way that it chips away at their dignity? Think about that. You wouldn't like that done to you. You know, that's the first thing. The second one, when criticism gets to that point, it elevates into contempt. Contempt is lack of respect. You talk to them anyhow. You compare them to bad people, to horrible things, to horrible people. You compare anything they do to a horrible situation. You talk as though nothing good can come out of this person. That is contempt. That you're just being contemptuous. And of course, guess what? We're all humans. That person, hello, Genixo. That person, welcome to my life. Please do share and like and comment so that other people can benefit from what we're sharing. So, like I was saying, when you are in the realm of contempt, this is where you lack respect for your partner. You compare anything they do to horrible situations. You compare them to horrible people. You talk as though nothing good can really come from them. But that says a lot about you rather than them, because at the end of the day, how do you really expect that person to be feeling, and what response do you think they would be giving you to what you are putting them through? For me, it beats me to be able to do that to somebody you claim you love. So clearly something is wrong if you are operating with contempt against your partner. So the first thing, criticism, and then the second one, contempt. Now the third one is defensiveness. When you are always defensive, where you shift blame. So you've done something, or for example, your partner is telling you have done something and they do not like that thing, or it makes them feel somehow. And rather than look at what they're telling you and see how they say it impacts them, what you then do is to be defensive, like, no, it's you. I mean, you should take it a bit easier now. You should take it more easy. It was just a joke. But yeah, it might be a joke to you. Don't you think it's your duty to be sensitive to your partner, so that even if really genuinely you meant it as a joke, or you were joking with your partner, if it looks like they don't like it, it's not a choice. It's your duty to reel back. It's your duty to close in, to make amends, because the assumption is you are not there to deliberately hurt them. So if they're feeling hurt by something you say, there is no need to argue about it. There is no need to make them feel like they are crazy or they are not good enough. Just take it that they don't like that particular kind of joke, because you yourself would not like certain types of joke being made with you. So how would you feel if your partner ignored that and did it anyway? You won't like it. So again, should you do it to somebody when you don't like it? My answer will be no. So that is one bit. Defensiveness. So we've got 3 now. The fourth one is stonewalling. Now, everybody knows that, we would hurt each other sometimes in error. We will make some mistakes sometimes. My mistake will hurt you as my partner. Your mistake will hurt me, But the question is, how do we resolve this? Thank you, Genixo. Please do share so that people can come and benefit from what we're doing. Please do like also. Like us, like what we're doing. It helps promote what we're doing. Because what we're trying to do is to see how we can work together to reduce this incidence of domestic abuse, if not eradicate it. and by so doing, reduce this increasing incident of death by domestic abuse. Okay, we have an understanding about how. Oh, thank you for the likes. We have an understanding about how this thing works and how it's affecting people. And what we're trying to do is to help people come out of it. And I'm talking to those who find themselves abusing somebody else domestically and those who find themselves being abused. In fact, even we provide help also for children or people who might experience domestic abuse by extension. In other words, by witnessing somebody else being abused. It can be abusive for them too. We try to help people like that. If you're in any of these categories, please feel free to give me a call. Give us a call on 0708-3385-779. That'll be the number to call. You could message me, comment on here. I know some of you might not want to come out, but our sessions, our discussions are confidential and non-judgmental. And we don't just talk to you. We don't just sit down and listen to you. We actually actively work with you to create a lasting solution. You see, because solution is everything. Whatever it is you're experiencing right now, solution is what is key. And that is what we are about. We provide solution. So please, if you're experiencing any of these things or you don't have a clue, whether you are the perpetrator or the victim or a victim by proxy, please do get in touch with us. We can help you if you want the help, but you've got to ask for the help because we don't live inside you to know you need help. You need to decide that. Come to us and let us help you. So like I was saying, defensiveness. We've talked about defensiveness, which is shifting blame. Okay. We've moved on now to stonewalling. Now, we might offend one another. We offend each other from time to time. However, if one person now comes to you, so I offended you now, my wife, or my girlfriend, or my partner, whatever it is you are, and I've realized that something is not right, or you are not happy with me, or I'm not doing right, and I come to you to try to talk it with you to resolve the issue and all of that. What some of you do is stonewall. You refuse to participate in that dispute resolution. Again, it beats me. I don't understand. Yes, I know you are hurting and all that, but don't you think that would be the platform now to express how really hurt you are? Because this person has now come by themselves to come and resolve the issue. Possibly, most times to come and apologize, about what has happened and all of that. Why don't you keep, an open mind? Allow that conversation. Participate in that conversation rather than stonewall and make that attempt futile. So you make the person make first, second, third, multiple attempts. Guess what's going to happen? Someone's making multiple attempts. Hello, Sylvia No Mori. Welcome for joining. Sylvia Omori, thank you for joining. Why don't you make attempt to allow the conversation so that this person, you can look at how you can resolve the issue once and for all. I know from my Christian friends that Christianity does not even permit that. And I know from Islam, being a Muslim, that it doesn't permit that. The prescription of those two major religions, and I'm sure if we look at others, is the same thing, essentially. The prescriptions are that you don't let the sun set on your annoyance. You need to find a way to resolve the issue before the next day. Don't let it settle for 24 hours. Chris Rock once made a joke about women. No disrespect to women. He said, I would say some people save up stuff to hold you against in the future. Oh, he don't even know. I know. But I'm going to take him up in a month's time on it or something like that. Why carry that burden? It's not necessary. You don't need that burden because it weighs down on you. So you are keeping what has happened now. You are not saying anything about it. You are keeping it inside you till 1 month or till some time where you feel you will catch the person and knock them down and all of that. Why would you be doing that to someone you love? I don't understand it. Because it's inconsistent with true love. It's inconsistent with genuine, true love. You can't love somebody and be holding something down against them for when you will use it to crush them. Really? Now, if you are doing that and you claim to love somebody, believe me, you don't love that person. That is not love. That's something else. And even I can't explain what that is. That is not love. Yoruba people say ifeki binu. It means that love does not get angry. It's not like love doesn't get angry, but essentially what they're trying to say is that when you love someone, you can't stay mad at that person. It's almost impossible to stay mad at someone you love. Very, very impossible. So if you claim to love someone and you are able to stay mad at that person, you don't love that person. Don't deceive yourself. You really do not love that person. And that's a fact. And you need to start looking inwards into yourself. You need to start thinking about yourself, about how you are responding. Check yourself. Do you really love this person? So, now, when you look at all those 4 horsemen being the key, this is after surveying hundreds of thousands of couples that are looking to divorce or that are having issues in their marriages and all that. This person is a psychologist, a renowned psychologist, John Gottman. You can Google his name and read more about it. These are the 4 major indicators: criticism, contempt, defensiveness, and stonewalling. You put a brick wall. You don't allow resolution to happen. These are the 4 major indicators that marriage will crash or that union is going to crash. So if you are involved in any of these 4 or a combination of these 4 or even worse, all these 4, you know that thing they say that what God has joined together, no man shall put asunder. I always add to it saying including those involved. Because you are man too, according to the word of God. Man means mankind, man and woman, right? And there is a man and woman anyway. So essentially that's what it means. So the 2 of you that are getting married should also not put asunder in that marriage. Because it's God that has joined it together, isn't it? Now, the way you will be putting asunder into that marriage is by your own conduct, what you are doing. So if you are engaging in any of these 4 horsemen, or a combination of them, or even all 4, you are already effectively, actively putting asunder into your own marriage or your own union. You are actively working for the destruction of your union. And if that union means anything to you at all, you will walk far away from these 4 horsemen. Again, I'll repeat them because they are very important. Criticism, contempt, defensiveness, which is blame shifting. And that actually is the platform upon which gaslighting is based. That's where gaslighting comes from. Defensiveness, blame shifting. Making you think you are crazy for thinking what you think that actually is correct. Making you feel like you are the monster or you are the